What is up, my friends? Welcome to a new video. In this video, we're going to talk about the recent unemployment numbers. We're going to talk about some PPP loan data and how much of a disaster that's been, and a few other little tidbits that I think you're going to enjoy. So stay tuned and enjoy the video. All right, job numbers came out yesterday, and they're looking okay, but I'm very concerned about a few things, which we're going to talk about. First off, we are expecting 700,000 initial claims, new initial claims. There are 742,000, not too bad. We look at the overall trend going down. The areas of concern are the following: the green and the blue, and the yellow partially, because green is pandemic unemployment insurance, the blue is pandemic emergency claims, and the yellow is extended benefits. All the pandemic related stuff is supposed to stop at the end of this year. So up from 0 to 13 million, but they will expire at the end of the year. Yeah, so those, I believe it's blue and green, will expire at the end of the year. Regular benefit claimants down from the peak of 22 million to 6 million. So overall, but the big yikes here is that 600,000 pounds at a food bank was given away as thousands of cars lined up in Texas just to get fucking food. So I'm pretty sure that the divide that we all talked about was coming, the economic divide from locking down an economy where you seemingly have destroyed all small businesses, but profit for Microsoft, Amazon, and all the big guys is up because Amazon is going to eat all these small businesses up. They're going to just eat all that up, and they're going to continue to get bigger and bigger. The thing that we all said, which was going to be obvious, is now played out, and nobody else is really catching on. So instead of these guys talking about all these hypothetical insane theories, how about we talk about like facts on the ground, what's right in front of us, which is that there's a lot of people who are unemployed. No, I don't think Biden could have done better. I think he's going to be a complete and absolute idiot. The guy can barely finish a sentence. And I don't think that that's the kind of person you have run the free world. But I guess time will tell. I pray every single night, I really do, that I'm wrong. But what we have is right in front of us, we have the economic divide getting bigger. Rich are getting richer, poor are getting poorer. At the same time, we have a record amount of food being given away in like fucking days. We have the highest amount of 401k millionaires and IRA millionaires in this quarter. So 401k is up 17%, the amount of millionaires, 262,000 millionaires. The amount of IRA millionaires is up 15%, 234,000 millionaires in quarter three. We've got a very clear divide. It's almost as if the pandemic was all planned, right? It's almost as if it was all planned because you can still go get an abortion, you can go get alcohol, you can go get drugs, you can get high, but you're locked down in your house. Small businesses can't run. Lowe's, Home Depot, big conglomerates, the restaurants, not restaurants, excuse me, but the bigger branches like Walmart's, there it is, and the bigger companies, right, like these big, Ralph's and big superstores, those all, even going back to the very first lockdown all over the United States, those never closed. Here's why. At first, my working theory was just that that they're the biggest tax burden on the county. So the county has to allow them, the state has to allow them to stay open because they need the tax dollars. And now it might have just been that simple and coincidental that all the small businesses, which were also run by everyday Joes like you and me, were stifled and completely choked out. And we saw instance after instance, the gym owners in North Carolina, the gym owners in New Jersey who got shut down. They tried to arrest them. They took the doors off the gym. They moved the gym equipment out in the parking lot. Like, how much of this was about the pandemic and how much of it wasn't? We've seen fumble after fumble, these people not taking accountability, and meanwhile, the divide is getting greater and greater. So now, let's transition into what has happened with this PPP money, because there's some big anomalies happening here. I've read two numbers, 253, I think, 285. It's somewhere between 250 and 285 of medium-sized businesses went under. And those businesses all took PPP money. So now imagine how many small to mid-sized businesses did not take PPP money and still went under. I mean, we're talking about record amounts of small businesses going under this year. And some of them even got PPP money, which means one of two things. Either they're going to go bankrupt anyways, they spent the money on something else, or maybe it just wasn't enough because being closed for 6 months and then having people wear plastic suits and all the EPA regulation and all the crazy regulation stuff that's now going on, maybe that has actually stifled small business. Call me crazy, but maybe. Got doggo going nuts outside. Okay, so these 285 businesses they represented somewhere between $228 and $509 million of money that's never going to be paid back. $525 billion in loans were distributed to over 5 million companies between April 3rd and August 8th, and clearly it didn't work. Okay, so we've got 23,400 roughly people that are now going to be out of a job out of this, and we've got a mounting amount of fraud that is they're trying to count up. Okay, nearly 500 suspects and hundreds of millions of dollars of loans, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is occurring right now on fraud that happened. And obviously we saw, like, the SBA was working off an outdated list. The amount of information that they got off of some of these companies was very old, and it turned out to be a free-for-all in the end. The big banks made money, so they didn't really give a shit, which is why they got first ability to act on these things versus small banks, which, again, if they cared about small business, they would have bumped up the smaller community banks and things like that to allow them to get more of the loan bundling, but they didn't. They allowed the big banks to completely dominate and hand this money out like Skittles to themselves, bank workers who coincidentally own businesses, and to their clientele. So it's just very interesting to me how this has all gone. And at the same time, we aren't seeing the uptick in discretionary spending as a total amount of income going up, but we are starting to get some interesting indicators, which the first one is that U.S. debt surges on mortgages because a lot of people have refinanced as the rates have been lower, up $420 billion from a year ago. So that's a curious number to pay attention to. That's something that we need to pay attention to. Okay, balances on credit cards fell to $807 billion, the lowest since 2017, the data shows. About 54% of respondents on a TransUnion survey late last month said the pandemic has affected their finances, and roughly half of those people said they expect to reduce their retail and discretionary spending. So anyways, you see what's going on here. Just from these few data points I've shared is that we have some huge questions to be answered with the PPP money, and the Fed is now, I guess, bumping heads with Mnuchin a little bit about their vehicles and how they're being spent. Well, we've covered this. The Fed hasn't been using their vehicles at all. They've got 14 different economic vehicles, and they've barely spent any money. And it's mostly gone to big business, which has fueled the stock market. So I'm getting really confused on a lot of these wild theories that people are throwing out there, like Mnuchin's trying to destroy things on the way out, and Trump's trying to destroy things on the way out, when that's not really the case. We have a fundamental disagreement between the Federal Treasury and the Federal Reserve, which is not really an aspect of the government at all. It's a private entity. And we have the Federal Reserve not really spending what they said they were going to spend and what they said they were going to allocate. And we have the Treasury that is spent beyond what they said they were going to spend. So, I mean, it's a very interesting predicament we're in. But overall, the evidence is on the table. The proof is on the table, rather. And small business did not win out of this. And small businesses have been negatively affected the most out of this. So it turns out that the rich did get richer and the poor did get poorer. So let me know what you think about this below. Comment, hit the thumbs up, thumbs down if you don't like it. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, be on the lookout. More videos dropping soon.